What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very entertaining video today. Now, this is for all the overthinking hardcore fans like myself. Now, as hardcore fans, we all love storylines, right, in mixed martial arts. Now, this could mean from what I mean is maybe a fighter has a specific loss and then they bounce back from that in a representative sort of way. Now, it's a little bit hard to explain, but we'll get right into it, guys. Let's go. Alright, first off we have Joaquin Buckley's head kick KO loss versus Alessio Di Chirico, and then him later on in his career KOing Wonderboy after surviving a head kick 10 seconds before that, right? So how does this have symbolism in it, right? So, or any type of foreshadowing. So Joaquin Buckley, early on in his career, if you don't remember, was riding off of a lot of momentum versus Themba Gorimbo, right? He had that viral spinning kick knockout against Themba, and he was on a little bit of a win streak, Joaquin Buckley was. So we had Buckley eventually fight Alessio Di Chirico. Now, this is Joaquin Buckley's hype train that he's on, right? If you guys get what I'm saying, you know, you're following the storyline, right? So, so yeah, Joaquin Buckley's on his wave of momentum, but he gets head kick KO'd, unfortunately, put out cold by Alessio Di Chirico. So that's what puts his career to a halt right now, right? That's what kind of stops the hype right now. He ends up going up and down a little bit, getting a little bit of wins, losses, up and down. You know, not really a lot of consistency from Joaquin Buckley. But then he moves down to 170. A lot more disciplined Buckley gets, right? Starts riding a really good win streak at 170. Eventually gets in there with Wonderboy Thompson, his first top 10 big test, right? In the UFC. In general, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he fights Wonderboy Thompson. He's refined his style a lot. He's in there with like a fucking Mike Tyson, like, you know what I mean? He's looking like Mike Tyson out there a little bit against the rangy Wonderboy who's shifting back and going straight backwards, right? So Joaquin Buckley, think about it. This is his second chance at hype and at momentum. And in this fight, in the biggest fight of his career, he gets head kicked by Wonderboy, but he survives. There's no halt to his career this time, and he tracks down Wonderboy and eventually gets the KO over him 10 seconds later, securing the biggest win of his career and finally becoming a 170 contender and possibly a future champion. So, really cool from Joaquin Buckley. Yeah. Let's get right into the next one. Alright guys, next up we have Israel Adesanya KOing Alex Pereira over his left hook and finally securing his revenge. Now, as we all know, the foreshadowing is all over the place in this one, right? I mean, as we all know, these two have had a very entertaining and intense rivalry over the years in kickboxing and in the UFC now, right? With Adesanya predominantly winning the fights, but then Alex Pereira pulling off the win, landing his signature left hook, and that being the kryptonite for Adesanya, right? We had the first fight. Adesanya arguably winning the fight, but it goes to decision. He's 1-0 down against Alex Pereira already, right? But then the rematch happens. He's winning the fight again, but then Alex Pereira sleeps him, lands his signature left hook, puts Adesanya out cold, down 2-0 now, right? So, as we all know in this story, Adesanya climbs out of the kickboxing, climbs the UFC ranks, and becomes the UFC middleweight champion now, right? And Alex Pereira, following right along, tracks Adesanya down, finally getting his UFC title shot, facing off against Adesanya. Adesanya winning the fight, even though the beginning of the rounds were a little bit closer. Alex Pereira, again, in the 5th round, pulls off the TKO win against the fence, hurting Adesanya with another left hook. So as you guys can see, I mean, Adesanya can compete, but the left hook has always been the kryptonite for him, man, in these matchups. It's an equalizer, right? But as we all know, again, months later, in April, Miami, Adesanya and Pereira rematch for the second time in the UFC, with Alex Pereira actually winning the majority of this fight, if we're being honest, right? I mean, Alex was chopping Adesanya's calf down, teeing off on him against the fence, but then Alex Pereira gets lazy, gets wild, rushes 2 giant left hooks, and Adesanya fires a nasty overhand right, countering Alex Pereira over his left hook, putting him out cold, and finally securing his revenge. Crazy storylines. It's what we love to see, guys, right? I mean, sucks that Alex Pereira, that he that he didn't take his time, but this is what we love to see, guys. So yeah, amazing. All right, guys, next up we have probably my favorite one on the list. We have Ilia Topuria KOing Alexander Volkanovski with the right hand and KOing Max Holloway with the left hand the very same year. Now, the legend Ilia Topuria, who was brought up from Georgia and Spain, rose up and defeated the two greatest featherweight champions of all time. Symbolism all over the place. Don't get me wrong, but in the first fight we had Ilia Topuria, who was undefeated, 15-0, finally getting a shot at Alexander Volkanovski, right? Volkanovski still undefeated at featherweight, even though he had just lost to Islam at lightweight. But anyway, yeah, Volk defending his belt once again. Ilia making his reads. Volk having a little bit of success at range in the first round. Second round comes around, man, and Ilia finally hunts him down with a 3-punch combination, gets him against the fence, frames, corks one of the nastiest over right hands in featherweight history, puts Volk out cold, and Ilia wins the UFC featherweight championship. Incredible, right? And if you guys remember in that finishing sequence, he hits him with that right hand, and then that left hook that tries but misses as Volk goes down. That left hand was waiting for someone else. Let's just say that. But let's fast forward a little bit to April again, right? We had Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. Max Holloway having one of the sickest performances we've ever seen. Gets one of the greatest knockouts, probably the greatest in UFC history. So Max still showing that he is one of the greatest fighters of all time still, right? So we end up having this fight about 6 months later in October. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway now. Ilia just coming off of... So, dude, he's fighting... Oh, whoops. So he's fighting... Forget you saw that until the next clip. But yeah, he's fighting Volk first, right? And then he's fighting Holloway. So two of the GOAT featherweights back-to-back. And in this fight with Holloway, it went a lot longer. Holloway having a little bit of success at range, you know? A lot of teep kicks, you know, his jab a little bit, but Ilia slipping the jab, finally making his reads, and eventually tracking down Max, hurting him with a big right hand in the beginning of the sequence, flurrying him against the fence, and then finally tracking him down, hunting him down again, putting him out cold with that nasty left hook, man. So, yeah, KO'd Volk with the right hand, and then he was saving that left hand for Max Holloway. Crazy. This guy was destined to beat the two champs with both hands. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Definitely my favorite one. Ilia Topuria, without a doubt, is probably my favorite fighter to watch at the moment. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is just ridiculous, right? I mean, legendary shit. Hopefully we see Ilia versus Islam next. But yeah, a whole lot of destiny left in Ilia Topuria's career. Alright, guys, finally we have Alex Pereira winning the light heavyweight title against the fence versus Yuri Prochazka after losing the middleweight title against the fence versus Israel Adesanya. Now, just like kind of the ones before, I mean, this was a mistake that Alex Pereira had made, but then learned from it, you know, and kind of saved himself later in his career. Now, of course, we had, just like we talked about before, we had Adesanya reclaim the middleweight title, knocking out Alex Pereira for kind of being a little bit too overzealous, you know, spamming left hooks, and he ended up getting knocked out and losing his belt. Fast forward a little bit, though, we had Alex Pereira move up to light heavyweight, fighting Jan Blachowicz and getting the win over him. That was already kind of like a victory in itself, because a lot of people were kind of criticizing Alex, thinking, what if he just goes on a slide now? You know, because he kind of had a fast track to the title, and a lot of people were like kind of wondering to themselves, like, is Pereira going to have the same success as Adesanya, even while coming off of a loss, if that makes sense. Now, Pereira ends up beating Jan Blachowicz, and then months later fights Yuri Prochazka for the light heavyweight title. Now, this fight was very interesting. Pereira landing a lot of calf kicks, a lot of nice shots, but then Yuri ended up getting close, pressuring him, and landing a lot of straight punches against the fence, right? But then we had Alex Pereira learning from his past mistakes and putting Yuri Prochazka out cold with a counter right hand left hook combo, puts Yuri Prochazka down, and Alex Pereira reclaims a UFC championship, becomes a 2-division UFC champion now, which is amazing to say the least. So, yeah, man, this is just amazing, and another amazing story for Alex Pereira. Sucks that he has recently lost his belt, but we'll be back. We'll be back. So no need to worry. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is very fun to make. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great night. God bless, and yeah, peace out.